Leo, let's get real. Something or someone is blocking your mind and your money. And your intuition already knows exactly who I'm talking about. Maybe it started small. A hesitation before saying yes. A fog around a financial decision. A strange weight after talking to someone you thought you could trust. You felt it building, haven't you? It's like you're thinking clearly until they come into the picture, then suddenly your energy feels off. I'm here to tell you this isn't just in your head. And it's not just bad vibes. From September 27th to 30th, you're walking through a spiritual pressure zone. Something is stirring beneath the surface. And if the letter S just popped into your mind, don't dismiss it. That might be the confirmation you didn't even know you were asking for. You're not watching this by chance. You were drawn here for a reason. And that reason is simple. Your energy has been pulled into something you didn't consent to. You've been giving too much attention, time, or trust to someone who may not have your best interest at heart. Now let me be clear, this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. There's a difference between love and loyalty. And being spiritually tangled in someone else's shadow. You, Leo, were never meant to shrink just to make someone else feel okay. So if you've been doubting your next move, second-guessing your instincts, or feeling emotionally heavy after dealing with someone whose name starts with S, I want you to pause right here and breathe. Because this message is your wake-up call. This isn't just another horoscope. This is your checkpoint. And this space, eternal mindfulness, isn't just a channel, it's a place where your power gets mirrored back to you. Not in fluff, but in truth. Take a moment right now. Sit with this question: what if the reason I feel stuck is because I keep letting energy in that doesn't belong to me anymore? Now if your body responded to that, if something in your chest shifted, if your stomach flipped just a little, I want you to comment below and say, I feel it. I'm ready to protect my light. Not for me. For you. That's how you begin anchoring this shift. And while you're here, thank you. Thank you for choosing to show up, for every share, every comment, every subscription. You are the reason this message exists. You keep this space alive. And I don't take that for granted, not for 1 second. So stay with me. Stay present. Because we're just getting started. The truth that's coming next might shake you, but it will also set you free. And by the time we're done, you won't just know what's been happening behind the scenes. You'll know exactly what to do next. Now let's get into it. You know, sometimes energy doesn't come in loud. It doesn't knock at your door or burst into your thoughts like a storm. Sometimes, it tiptoes in through a conversation that seemed harmless. A look you brushed off. A name that keeps circling your mind without explanation. And if lately you found yourself feeling unclear, doubting decisions you were once confident about, losing sleep after certain interactions, or carrying a strange emotional fog that won't lift, it may not be about you. It may be about what's been sent toward you. From an astrological perspective, we're walking through a window right now, September 27th to 30th, where your sign, Leo, is especially open to subtle interferences. The Sun, your ruling planet, is forming complex aspects that soften boundaries between you and the emotional projections of others. And when those boundaries thin, even a whispered thought from someone else can leave an imprint on your field. Sometimes, it's love. Sometimes, it's longing. But other times, it's a cocktail of envy, control, and unprocessed emotion wrapped in sweetness, and that's when things get tricky. If someone has been thinking of you, especially someone whose name begins with S, it's not necessarily because they wish you harm. But energy doesn't lie, even when people do. You can feel it, can't you? The tightening in your chest after certain calls. The vague guilt that floats in even though you did nothing wrong. The way your creativity, your clarity, your confidence seem to dim the moment they enter your mental space. That's not random. That's spiritual interference disguised as connection. And this is where we need to be radically honest, not with them, but with ourselves. Because Leo, you are one of the most loyal signs in the zodiac. You show up. You hold space. You give second, third, even fourth chances. But loyalty without energetic discernment becomes self-abandonment. When you keep inviting someone into your field even mentally who drains more than they nourish, you start to lose the signal of your own inner truth. Let's break this down in a way that's not mystical, but deeply human. Imagine your energy field as a garden. Every thought, every interaction, every name you hold space for becomes a seed. Some people plant flowers. Some plant weeds. And others leave nothing behind but footsteps that compact the soil so your own dreams can't take root. That's the kind of energy we're dealing with here. S may not be pulling strings intentionally. But intention doesn't always matter, impact does. And if you're the one waking up tired, questioning your worth, or second-guessing your purpose after these encounters, it's time to step back and ask, why am I letting this energy in? One of the things I've learned through both astrology and years of working with people in emotional healing is that our spirit knows before our mind does. You don't need a red flag to see the truth. Sometimes the absence of joy is the only signal you need. If your body tenses when their name appears. If your breath shallows when they text. If your thoughts scatter after you leave a conversation with them, those are not coincidences. That's your inner compass trying to get your attention. We often think love means staying, explaining, proving. But spiritual maturity is knowing when to release without resentment. You can love someone and still guard your peace. You can forgive them and still stop letting them in. And that's what this window of time is asking of you. Not to react, but to recognize. To observe where your mind and energy go when you're not looking and gently call yourself back home. I don't believe in fear-based astrology. I believe in using it as a mirror to see what's already happening, so you can respond with clarity and compassion. That's what this message is about. This isn't about hating anyone. This is about honoring your own expansion. If S keeps showing up in your mind but leaves you energetically empty, ask yourself, is this presence helping me grow or keeping me stuck? The answer might not be dramatic. It might just be quiet, clear, and true. And that's enough. This week is sacred because it brings you an invitation not to fight, but to choose. Not to analyze them, but to return to you. That's the quiet revolution. And if you're here, still reading, still listening, it's because some part of you is already ready for it. Now ask yourself, what am I allowing into my space, and is it making me stronger or smaller? And if you're brave enough, share it with me in the comments below. Let this be your line in the sand. Say it out loud, or write it down. I'm done letting energy in that dims my truth. Sometimes, that's where the real healing begins. Energy rarely lies, but sometimes, it speaks in whispers instead of thunder. And during this particular window, from September 27th to 30th, those whispers are louder than usual. The astrology during this time is unusually revealing. We're stepping into a phase led by a waning moon in Pisces on the 29th, to be exact, while the Sun, your ruling planet, stands in direct opposition to Neptune, the master of illusions. It's like trying to drive through fog with your high beams on. The more you push for clarity, the harder it gets to see. But if you slow down and trust your senses instead of your eyes, the path reveals itself in layers. Astrologically, the moon in Pisces pulls us inward. It blurs the boundaries between your inner world and outer influences. You might find yourself picking up moods that aren't yours. You may suddenly remember dreams with strange symbolism, or feel the urge to pull away from certain people without knowing why. That's not you being weird. That's your intuition doing its job in real time. And then there's Neptune. Beautiful, dreamy Neptune. The planet that rules inspiration, creativity, empathy, and also confusion, delusion, and avoidance. When the Sun opposes Neptune, you can feel like you're being asked to choose between truth and illusion, but without knowing which is which. It's the kind of transit that softens your edges in a way that makes you more intuitive but also more vulnerable to energetic manipulation. Especially if your emotional boundaries haven't been reinforced lately. This is where it gets personal. You might find yourself emotionally wide open, more porous than usual. Maybe your heart wants to believe the best in someone. Maybe your mind wants to move forward, but your body says, wait. That tug of war? That's exactly what this astrology stirs up. And it's not here to punish you. It's here to reveal what's been hidden in plain sight. Think of it like this. There's a fog rolling through your field, but beneath that fog, the road is still there. The lines are still painted. The map hasn't changed. You just can't rely on your usual vision to guide you. You have to feel your way forward. And that means grounding yourself before making any big moves emotionally, financially, or even in love. So let's talk about how to actually move through this energy in a way that protects your light. First, your body. Start and end your day with breath. Not because it's trendy, but because deep, intentional breathing is one of the fastest ways to recalibrate your nervous system. 5 minutes in the morning. 5 minutes at night. Let that become your ritual. And if you want to go deeper, bring in natural solar foods, anything golden, rich, and warm. Think turmeric, orange slices, honey stirred into tea. Let the sun feed you from the inside out. Next, your work and goals. This isn't the time to force major decisions. With Neptune in play, what seems clear now may look completely different in a week. Use this time to audit, not act. Pull back and look at your plans from above. Where have you been doing things out of obligation rather than alignment? Where have you been pushing just to prove something? Let those questions be your compass. Financially, tune in before you transact. Not just to your bank account, but to your emotional energy. Try journaling your relationship with money for 7 days. Don't just track spending, track what you felt in each decision. Did you buy out of empowerment or escape? Were you investing in your future or avoiding your present? These answers are more revealing than any spreadsheet. And when it comes to love, this part is tender. You might feel the urge to bend, to accommodate, to make someone else comfortable at your own expense. Especially now, when everything feels so emotionally charged. But love isn't about shrinking yourself. It's not about being easy to be around. It's about standing in your wholeness. And if that means loving from a distance for now, then that's not coldness, it's clarity. This week is asking you to stand still in the fog and trust what's true beneath it. And I know that's hard. We all want certainty. But sometimes, wisdom comes not from figuring things out, but from observing without reacting. If you can hold space without forcing answers, you'll notice something incredible. Your inner clarity begins to rise on its own. So here's what I want to ask you, right now. What energy feels the strongest for you this week? What part of your life feels like it's in a cloud, and what would it mean to pause instead of push through? Drop it in the comments. Let your truth breathe here. This space isn't just for listening. It's for anchoring. Say what you feel, even if it's messy. That's where real healing begins. And sometimes, the quietest realizations are the ones that free us the most. When you draw the moon card in a reading during a period like this, it isn't just a picture on paper. It's a mirror for what's happening around you. The moon shows up when there's light, but it's borrowed light, not its own. That's why it rules illusion, subtle interference, and the things we can feel but can't quite see. Right now, as you navigate the tail end of September, the moon energy is like a quiet tide pulling at your inner shore. It tells you to slow down and pay attention to the shadows moving just beyond your line of sight, because not everything that shines at you is guiding you. Some of it is reflecting back your own hopes and fears. Beside it, the High Priestess appears not to scare you, but to ground you. She doesn't talk, she listens. She sits at the threshold between the seen and the unseen, asking you to notice what your body has been trying to tell you. If the moon is the mist on the road, the High Priestess is the stillness that lets your eyes adjust. She is a reminder that your intuition is not broken. It's working overtime to protect you. And if you've been feeling pulled between what you sense and what you're being told, this is your cue to trust the sense, not the story. In numerology, the vibration of this time is heavy with the number 8 and the number 9. 8 is the infinite loop, the flow of giving and receiving, the balance of inner and outer worlds. It calls you back to your own center so you stop leaking energy through old patterns. 9 is the closure number, the signal that a cycle has done its job and is ready to be released. Together, these numbers whisper, stop gripping the rope that's burning your hands. Let go with dignity. By doing so, you don't just protect your mind, you free up your life force for the next chapter. A simple practice can make this real. Take a sheet of paper and write down the name, the habit, or the belief that keeps showing up in your life but leaves you feeling smaller, poorer in spirit, or unsure of yourself. Don't analyze it. Just write. This isn't a curse or a hex, it's a gentle cord cutting through awareness. Fold the paper and put it somewhere safe or tear it up under running water. This is less about the ritual itself and more about giving your subconscious permission to release what it's been holding. You don't need anger to do this. You don't even need to tell the other person. You only need to acknowledge the truth in yourself. Remember, you don't have to hate someone to create distance. Distance can be the most loving thing you do for them and for you. When you step back, you stop feeding the energetic loop that keeps you stuck. You start returning to your own rhythm, your own light. That's the deeper meaning of these cards and numbers. They're not about drama or fear. They're about remembering that your mind, your money, your heart, and your future are sacred spaces. Only you decide who gets a key. As you sit with this, notice what rises in your body. A name? A feeling? A memory? Let it come. Let it show you what wants to be cleared. And if you're ready, share it in the comments. This isn't just engagement, it's anchoring. Saying it out loud or typing it out is how you signal to yourself and to the energy around you that you're done carrying what isn't yours. This is how you stop shrinking for the sake of closeness and start expanding in the presence of peace. That's the real gift of the moon and the high priestess, not mystery, but permission. Permission to see, permission to release, permission to walk forward lighter than before. For Leo, abundance is rarely a question of worth, it's a question of permission. You were born under the sun. That means your energy naturally radiates. People notice you. Opportunities are magnetized to you. But what no one talks about enough is the shadow side of that magnetism, the way being a giver, a protector, a source of light can turn into a quiet drain when you're not paying attention to where your energy is leaking. Many Leos find themselves stuck in a strange pattern, attracting wealth or success, only to feel it slip away just as easily. Not because they're careless, and not because they don't know how to manage money, but because their energy field is constantly open, constantly giving, constantly doing. And when you're giving without boundaries, it's like watering every plant in the neighborhood and wondering why your own garden is dry. There's a deeper connection between your spiritual energy and your finances than most people realize. In energetic terms, money is just an extension of trust. When you're in alignment, money flows like a river, clear, strong, and nourishing. But when you're overextending yourself, giving too much time, too much attention, too much emotional bandwidth to people or situations that don't give back, you begin to dam that river without knowing it. And here's where the shift begins, through awareness. Not by forcing more control. Not by clenching tighter. But by simply witnessing your own patterns with honesty and compassion. That's why I want to share something I call the 7-day money energy reflection. It's not a financial budget or a spreadsheet. It's a self-awareness ritual that brings you back to the energetic root of how you engage with money, and more importantly, how money is engaging with you. Each day for 1 week, take 10 quiet minutes. Sit somewhere calm. Breathe deeply. And ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did I spend money on today, and why? What emotion was present in that moment? Ease, guilt, stress, joy? Did that action support the version of me I'm becoming? That's it. No shame. No blame. Just data from your own emotional field. Patterns will reveal themselves. You'll start to see when you spend to soothe. When you give from fear. When you say yes to avoid conflict. And once you see it clearly, you can start choosing differently, because you're no longer acting out of habit, but from presence. And here's the truth most Leos struggle to hear. Setting boundaries around your money doesn't make you selfish. It makes you sovereign. Saying no doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. You don't owe anyone your energy just because you have it. And you certainly don't have to apologize for not pouring into people who don't pour back into you. Try this. The next time someone asks for your time, your energy, your money, pause before answering. Ask yourself, is this a flow or a drain? Is this generosity, or is this guilt? That one moment of pause can change your entire relationship with abundance. Freedom isn't found in having more. It's found in leaking less. When you start plugging the tiny holes, those unconscious yes, those automatic people-pleasing patterns, you'll be amazed at how much energy comes back. And with that energy, money flows. Ideas flow. Support flows. Because you've made space for it. So tell me in the comments, what part of this are you ready to try? Will you do the 7-day reflection? Will you set one clear boundary around your time this week? Will you give yourself permission to say no without explaining yourself? Your journey to prosperity doesn't begin with action. It begins with intention. And this week, the invitation is simple but powerful. Stop bleeding energy where it's not appreciated. And watch how quickly the universe fills that space with something worthy of your light. Colors speak when words fail. They carry memory, vibration, and emotion more than we give them credit for. And during this period from September 27th to 30th, when your energy is more sensitive than usual, the colors around you aren't just aesthetics theory medicine. They're frequency. They're spiritual tools in disguise. There's something about golden yellow this week that keeps coming through. Not a dull or artificial yellow, but that deep, warm, sunlight after the rain kind of yellow. The kind that softens you and strengthens you at the same time. In energy work, that color is associated with solar alignment, self-trust, and clarity of purpose. For Leo, ruled by the sun, it's more than symbolic, it's ancestral. This isn't about dressing to impress. It's about aligning with your source. Think turmeric tea in the morning, amber candles at your desk, gold accents you carry throughout the day. Let that color remind your body of who you are when you're not second-guessing yourself. And then there's green. Not just any green, but the quiet, glimmering tone of jade, eucalyptus, sea glass. These shades soothe. They whisper instead of shout. They ground your heart while opening your intuitive field, especially when you've been absorbing too much from others. If yellow is your declaration, then green is your sanctuary. Together, they form a soft shield that isn't rigid but wise. You don't need to build walls this week. You just need to remember which parts of you are sacred and treat them that way. If you've made it this far, you already know this week isn't about pushing. It's about protecting. That doesn't mean you close yourself off. It means you prepare yourself before the world enters your space. One of the simplest ways I know how to do that is this: before anything begins, before the meetings, the texts, the decisions, sit quietly. Hand over your heart. 3 deep breaths. And say, slowly, out loud or silently, I choose my light. Repeat it 3 times. Not like a chant you don't believe in, but like a promise you're finally ready to keep. This isn't about magic. It's about agreement between your spirit and your body that you are no longer a sponge for other people's noise. That ritual becomes your filter. Not to block out the world, but to hold your center while the world moves around you. And it only takes a minute. A minute to remember that your energy is not up for grabs. That your clarity is not a community project. That you don't need to explain the quiet strength you carry just to be allowed to have it. The truth is, the fog will come. Confusion will visit. People will bring their chaos to your doorstep and call it love, concern, urgency. But you are the sun. You don't chase shadows. You hold your place until they dissolve. There is power in not reacting. There is wisdom in stillness. That's the kind of protection no one can take from you because it's built from within. So maybe, this week, let your wardrobe become your prayer. Let your colors become your shield. Let your breath become your compass. And if that sounds too small to matter, just try it once and feel the difference. The more you do it, the more your energy learns to recognize what is yours and what never was. Now I'll ask you this, not as a teacher, but as someone walking beside you. What color is calling to you right now? What tone makes your body exhale? Comment below. Let this be more than something you heard. Let it become something you anchored. Because every time you choose your light over your fear, over your habit, over someone else's expectation, you are not just protecting yourself. You are reclaiming the most magnetic version of you. And that version? That's the one abundance rushes toward. Every single time. Leo, if you've made it to this moment, take a breath. Because you're not here by accident. Your soul knew you needed this message. And now, more than ever, it's time to take your power back. From September 27th to 30th, you will be tested not just by circumstances, but by energy. Someone with the initial S may be stirring confusion in your mind, creating subtle interference in your flow of abundance. But listen carefully, this is not about them. This is about you, your intuition, your clarity, your worth, and your fire. Sometimes, the universe allows a disruptor into your space not to punish you, but to awaken your discernment. To teach you where the leak is. To help you learn how to say, no more access to my light if you're only here to dim it. The person named S is not the villain. They are simply a spiritual mirror, reflecting where your boundaries still need reinforcement. So now the question becomes, will you continue letting someone else manage the temperature of your fire? Or will you reclaim the match and set your own path ablaze? The truth is, Leo, you don't need anyone's permission to shine. You don't have to wait for external validation. You already are the light. You already are the source. And when you begin to treat your attention as sacred currency, the universe shifts instantly. This is not just a spiritual warning, it's a sacred opportunity. You are being called to master your mental energy and your money energy. The two are linked. Confusion in the mind creates blockages in the flow of abundance. But when you choose clarity, when you silence the noise, when you disconnect from chaotic energies, you make room for miracles. So I ask you now, if fear or judgment disappeared, what would you choose today? What are you ready to let go of energetically, emotionally, or financially? Whose voice have you been prioritizing above your own? Because now is the time to write a new script. A script where you don't apologize for trusting your gut. A script where no becomes a sacred spell of protection. A script where your money flows freely because your mind is no longer hijacked by someone else's doubt, drama, or projections. And it begins with one simple declaration: I choose my light. So if this message resonates, I invite you to anchor the energy right now in the comments. Type, I choose my light, share what you're letting go of. Drop your angel number. Is it 888 for abundance? 444 for protection. 555 for transformation. This isn't just interaction, it's energetic alignment. When you write it down, you affirm it in your field. You open the portal wider. And the more people who comment, the stronger the vortex becomes. And if you feel called, please like this video, subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, and share this with another Leo who might be caught in confusion right now. Your simple action can light someone else's path. We're building a space here not just of guidance, but of empowerment. A space where your fire is not too much. A space where your transformation is welcomed, celebrated, and supported. So please remember this: you are not under attack, you are under activation. You are not being blocked, you are being invited to go higher. You are not being punished, you are being positioned for clarity, prosperity, and peace. And finally, Leo. The world does not need a muted version of you. The world needs your roar, your radiance, your relentless courage. So rise. Stand tall in your truth. Guard your energy like the treasure it is. And never forget, the fire in you is not meant to be controlled, it's meant to lead the way through every fog, fear, and falsehood. I see your light. I honor your fire. I trust your path. From my heart to yours, thank you for watching Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence here is no coincidence. You are loved, supported, and divinely guided. We'll walk through this together. And on the other side, your mind will be clear. And your money will flow like never before. Play this video again if you need a reminder. Comment if your soul feels ready. And don't forget, your light was never meant to be dimmed. Only refined. See you in the next message, Leo. Until then, keep shining.